Chapter 3. Li Jiang, showing off his ambition, pleads with the Western Mountain. The poem reads, a hero, arrogant and proud, insists on seeking auspicious omens from the gods. He summons rain from the sky, imitating a dragon even though he is not a true dragon. Rumors increase suspicion. Oh, the Tang Duke, whose surname is Li. The immortal plum tree, deeply rooted, laughs at the withered willow, its shoots barren. Throughout history, the fortunes and misfortunes of a nation, though seemingly ordained by heaven, are largely determined by human actions. Where there is a predetermined fate, there are always omens. If one can be fearful and reflect upon these things, one can turn misfortune into good fortune. As the saying goes, evil arises from man and is also destroyed by man. If one harbors suspicion, seeks to suppress the seeds of chaos, and delights in killing, then treacherous officials will seize the opportunity to plot against people. This will not only fail to quell the trouble, but will only breed disaster. It is said that the Sui emperor, having dreamt of a flood inundating the city, suspected that a person with a name related to water was causing trouble. At that time, there was a senior official in the court named Li Hun, the Duke of Cheng. He was originally a meritorious official of the Chen dynasty. After the fall of Chen, he surrendered to the Sui dynasty and retained his old title of Duke of Cheng. The Sui emperor suddenly realized the character Hun, Chinese letter, is associated with water, and his title is Duke of Cheng, Chinese letter, which means city. This perfectly matches the dream of a city being flooded. Moreover, Jun, Chinese letter, symbolizes military force. Could this man be a harbinger of disaster? But he is old and holds no military power, so he can't do anything. The problem must lie with his descendants. He then asked his attendants, "How many sons does Li Hun have, and what are their names?" The attendants replied, "Li Hun's eldest son is dead, leaving only his youngest son, nicknamed Honger." Upon hearing the name Honger, the Sui emperor was startled and thought, "In my dream, I saw a tree on a city wall and fruit on the tree. A tree is wood, and fruit on a tree is the fruit of wood. The characters for wood and fruit together form the character Li, Chinese letter. Now the nickname of Li's son is the character Hong, Chinese letter, which means flood, perfectly matching my dream. This child will surely be detrimental to the country in the future. He should be eliminated immediately." He then ordered an eunuch to deliver an imperial edict to Li Hun's house, ordering Honger to be put to death. Li Hun, forced by the emperor's command, had no choice but to comply. Poor Honger died unexpectedly, and his whole family wept bitterly. A later poet lamented this. King Gao of Yin and King Wen both received a wise minister through dreams. King Xiong of Chu had a romantic dream that attracted a goddess. Alas, Emperor Geazu of Sui was haunted by nightmares. Killing someone to ward off the dream was a reckless act. The Sui emperor, out of suspicion, killed a son of the Li family. This news spread, startling a man surnamed Li, who suddenly harbored great ambitions. This man, named Li Jiang, courtesy name Yaoshi, was from Sanyuan. He was resourceful, well-versed in military strategy, and skilled in archery and horsemanship, truly a man of both literary and martial talents. Orphaned at a young age, he was raised by his maternal relatives. His uncle was Han Kinhu. Kinhu often discussed military matters with him, praising, "Who else but this young man can discuss Sun Tzu and Wu Qi?" At only 20 years old, he already possessed great ambitions. Seeing the Sui dynasty's harsh laws, he predicted its short-lived existence. Upon hearing that the Sui emperor had killed someone based on a dream, he secretly laughed. What good is killing if the true ruler does not die? He then thought, according to the dream, a tree sprouting a child must be named Li. The great flood signifies the unification of the world. The one who will rule the world in the future will surely be a person surnamed Li. He then began to think of himself. One day, I happened to be in Huzhou on business. Passing by Mount Hua, I heard that the mountain god, the great king of the western peak, was highly efficacious. So I prepared incense and candles and went to the temple to pay my respects. I wrote a petition and silently prayed. Li Jiang, a commoner, despite his humble origins, presents this petition to Your Excellency the great king of the western peak. I have heard that the upper realm is pure and the lower realm turbid, thus dividing the order of heaven and earth. Day is bright and night is dark, thus establishing the way of gods and men. I have also heard that those who are intelligent and upright act according to human principles, and whose sincerity moves the gods. Their positions are not undeserved. I humbly beseech Your Excellency to be majestic and virtuous, solemn and awe-inspiring, to possess the divine arts to control all the gods, and to be ranked among the 4 peaks. Therefore, I have erected an image in a pure temple to guard the golden direction. Looking back at the wise kings of past dynasties, none have failed to offer sacrifices in accordance with the times. They summoned clouds and brought rain, and heaven truly complied. They turned misfortune into good fortune, and what did they not rely on? Alas, I am but a man. Why am I neither employed when I advance nor rewarded when I retreat? Having found peace, I breathe like a fish in a dead pond, walk like a bird lost from its forest. My sorrow is boundless. The nation is in ruins. The universe is overturned. Treacherous heroes vie for power, and counties crumble. Now I wish to establish righteousness, sweeping away all obstacles like clouds and lightning, slaying the whales and cleansing the seas and mountains, dispelling the gloom and opening up the rivers and mountains, so that all people may be revived and all things may prosper. This is an act in accordance with heaven and the times. If the throne cannot be held, I wish to draw my sword and petition the emperor, awaiting the rise of the dragon in the heavens, offering my loyal and righteous heart, dedicating myself to saving the world, pouring out my heart and soul at the foot of the steps, hoping the gods will witness. I wish to be shown the opportunity to advance or retreat, to decide the course of my life. When the time comes for a sacrifice, I will finally strike the drum. If I answer 3 times, what god is there to protect me? I will surely behead the king, burn his temple, and establish a grand strategy. It is not too late. Only the gods can decide. After praying, he tried divination with a broom, silently praying, If I, Li Jiang, am destined to be emperor, I beg you to grant me a sacred broom. He threw the broom down. Strangely enough, both pieces of the broom stood upright on the ground. Li Jiang was suspicious, picked them up and threw them again, but they still stood upright. Seeing this, Li Jiang felt a surge of anger. He stood before the deity and slammed his fist on the table, saying sharply, If I, Li Jiang, did not have extraordinary fortune, what use would I be? Only the gods are wise and answer all questions. Why did you ask about the broom twice, failing to distinguish between yin and yang? Now I will divine again. If there is no clear answer, I will surely behead you and burn the temple. After praying, he threw the broom down again. The broom hovered on the ground for a long time before settling down. Upon closer inspection, it was a yang broom. Li Jiang thought to himself, Yang symbolizes the ruler. This is also an auspicious omen. He then picked up the broom, bowed deeply, and left. Those in the temple, seeing his wild words, some accused him of blasphemy, others suspected him of being mentally unstable. It was truly a case of, how can a sparrow know the ambition of a swan? Let the mortal eye laugh at a hero. Now Li Jiang spent the night at an inn, dreaming of a divine being, adorned with an ivory turban, wearing a black robe and a horn belt, holding a yellow paper. The being said to Li Jiang, I am the judge of the Western Mountain, given this paper by the king's decree. Your entire life's destiny is contained within it. Li Jiang took it and unfolded it, seeing that it read, Do not lament your wandering in the south, for in the west you will find extraordinary opportunities. A red thread binds your feet, and you will ride the phoenix in the Yue kingdom. Seek the golden mausoleum on the right path, for your family's success depends entirely on the longbow. A game of chess reveals the true dragon, and you will be able to hold the sun high in your hands. Li Jiang read it once in his dream and memorized it. The judge said, "Everything has its destiny. One should not expect too much, nor be impatient. Wait for the right time to act, choose a lord to serve, and you will surely be rich and noble." Having said this, he disappeared. Li Jiang awoke, remembering everything clearly, and thought, "Judging from this, I have no destiny to be emperor. I can only be an assistant to the true lord. What the deity said will later come true." From then on, he abandoned his ambition to seize power and could only patiently wait for the right time. Indeed. Today, one must endure hardship. In the future, one will surely soar like a rock. One day, while visiting a friend, Li Jiang stayed at an inn in Weinan. Taking advantage of some free time, he rode alone to the countryside for hunting. It was late spring, early summer, and he saw farmers working in the fields, but due to a long drought, the soil was dry and hard, making their work very difficult. Li Jiang, feeling weary, dismounted and asked an old farmer for some tea to quench his thirst. The old farmer, seeing he was a passing traveler, dared not neglect him and quickly called his wife to his thatched hut, where they brewed a bowl of tea and offered it to Li Jiang. Li Jiang thanked them and continued on his way. Suddenly, he saw a rabbit emerge from beside a rocky cliff, and Li Jiang spurred his horse to chase it. The rabbit ran east and west, always ahead, but he couldn't catch it. He shot an arrow at it, and the rabbit ran away with the arrow in its paws. Li Jiang kept chasing, not knowing how far he had gone, but the rabbit had vanished. He turned his horse around, unable to remember the way he had come, and could only let his horse continue on its way. As the sun began to set, Li Jiang grew anxious, thinking, "It's getting late and I'm lost on my journey. Where can I find lodging?" Looking around, he saw tall buildings in the woods ahead. "If there are houses over there," he said, "let's go and find some shelter." He spurred his horse forward. Upon arriving, he found a large mansion. It was already dusk and the gates were closed. Li Jiang dismounted and knocked. An old servant came out and asked who he was. Li Jiang said, "I've lost my way in the mountains and it's getting late. I need to ask for lodging for the night." The servant replied, "My master is out. Only the old lady is home. Let me go in and inform her. If she'll let me stay, she can." Li Jiang tied his horse to a tree in front of the gate and stood respectfully outside. After a short while, a voice came from inside. "The old lady invites you to come in and see me." Li Jiang straightened his clothes and entered. Inside, the lights were bright, and the halls were deep and spacious. He saw painted beams and carved pillars, beaded curtains and emerald screens. The hall was filled with dazzling treasures. The tables were laden with exquisite objects. Barefoot servants lined the steps to pay their respects. Pairs of women in purple sleeves and blue robes stood in the courtyard. The host was courteous, the greetings naturally solemn and respectful. The guest, seeking lodging, was offered a comfortable stay. Such a scene was truly enviable, befitting a prince's mansion, while my own worldly life should be ashamed. The old lady, perhaps 50 years old, dressed in a green skirt and white robe, stood elegantly in the hall. Several maids stood on either side, some holding towels and combs, others incense burners, some carrying ruyi scepters, and others holding whisks. Li Jiang entered the hall and bowed to pay his respects. The old lady calmly returned the greeting and inquired of the guest's name and the reason for his visit. Li Jiang introduced himself, explaining that he had gotten lost while hunting and had taken the liberty of seeking lodging. He then asked, "What family's residence is this?" The old lady replied, "This is the Long family's separate residence. My son and I are staying here temporarily. Tonight, neither of us is home, so it would be inappropriate to keep a guest so soon. But since you've gotten lost and come seeking shelter, if we don't keep you, where will you go in the dark? Please excuse our inconvenience." She then instructed her maid to prepare wine and food for her guest. As Li Jiang was declining the invitation, The wine and food were already laid out, with cups and plates of exceptional quality. The lady ushered her guest to the table, while she herself sat to one side, instructing her maid to serve wine and urge him to stay. Seeing the lady's dignified demeanor and the maid's respectful manners, Li Jiang feared he might become impolite after drinking and dared not drink too much. After a few cups, he rose to take his leave. The old lady said, "Your esteemed horse is currently resting in the stable. A simple bed has been prepared in the left wing of the front hall. Please rest there. If your son returns late at night and there is noise from the horses and men, please do not be alarmed." With that, she went inside. The servant led Li Jiang to the bedroom in the front hall, where he saw that the bed curtains and bedding were extremely luxurious. Li Jiang thought to himself, what kind of noble family is this Long family, to be so wealthy and to be so hospitable? He also thought, if their son returns and hears that there is a guest here, he might want to see me. I cannot go to sleep now. So he closed the door, lit a candle, and sat alone to wait. He noticed that the bookshelves by the wall were piled high with books, so he picked up a few to read for a while. It turned out that the books recorded strange things about river gods, sea monsters, and aquatic creatures, all of which he had never seen before. After reading for a while, around midnight, Li Jiang suddenly heard a commotion outside the gate. A rain-bringing talisman has arrived. He also heard a commotion inside. The old lady welcomes the talisman. Li Jiang was shocked and said, "How can a rain-bringing talisman come to their house? Is this not the human world?" Just as he was wondering, the servant knocked on the door and said, "The old lady has something to ask of you and invites you to come out." Li Jiang hurriedly went to the hall. The old lady curtsied and said, "Young master, please do not be alarmed. This is indeed the Dragon Palace, and I am the Dragon Mother. Both of my sons are registered in the heavenly court and are responsible for bringing rain. They have just received a celestial decree. Rain must be brought within a 500-mile radius from north to west and from west to south by midnight tonight, and must cease by dawn without the slightest deviation. However, my eldest son has sent his sister to a distant wedding, and my second son is about to be married off to Dongting Lake, so there is no time to send word. Since I am a woman and servants cannot be in charge, I am fortunate that you, young master, are staying here. I dare to deign to temporarily take your place. After the task is completed, there will be a small reward, so please do not refuse." Li Jiang was a young, sharp, and bold man. Upon hearing this, he had no doubts, but said, "I am but a mortal. How can I take the place of the dragon god to bring rain?" The old lady said, "If you are willing to take my place, I have a method for bringing rain." Li Jiang said, "In that case, why not take my place?" The old lady was overjoyed and immediately ordered a cup of wine to be brought. A moment later, the wine arrived, and the old lady handed it to Li Jiang, saying, "Drinking this will allow you to control wind and thunder and also strengthen your courage." Li Jiang took the wine, its aroma intoxicating, and drank it all in one gulp, immediately feeling his energy and spirit greatly enhanced. The old lady said, "A dragon horse has been prepared outside. My lord, ride it and let it soar into the air. You will not fall." A small glass bottle filled with clear water, this is a jellyfish, is tied to the saddle. A small golden spoon hangs from the mouth of the bottle. Whenever the dragon horse leaps, take a drop of water from the bottle and drip it onto the horse's mane. Not too much, not too little. This is the method of bringing rain. Remember it well. Once the rain is finished, the dragon horse will return on its own. There is no need to worry. Li Jiang acknowledged everything and immediately went outside to mount the horse. The horse was extremely tall, with an unusual coat color. After only a few steps, it leaped into the air, riding the wind steadily, gradually rising higher. In an instant, thunder and lightning erupted beneath its hooves. Li Jiang was not afraid at all. Following his wife's instructions, whenever the horse leaped, he dripped water onto its mane. He didn't know how many places he had dripped, but as dawn approached, he came to a spot where the horse was leaping again. Just as Li Jiang was about to collect the water to drip, he looked down in the sunlight and saw that it was the place where the horses had rested and drunk tea during the day. He thought, I have seen the fields here are parched. What good will this drop of water do? Now that I have the power to bring rain, why not spread it more widely? Besides, I have received a cup of tea from the villagers, so I should repay them with more sweet rain. So he dripped about 20 drops in a row. A short while later, the task was completed and the horse galloped back. Reaching the gate, it descended from the sky. Li Jiang dismounted and entered the gate, where he saw the old lady, her hair disheveled and dressed in plain clothes, her face filled with sorrow. She greeted Li Jiang, saying, "Young master, why have you misled me? A single drop of water in this bottle is equivalent to a foot of rain on earth." It was agreed that only one drop would fall, but why have 20 drops fallen in this area alone? Now the water level here is 2 high, and the fields, houses, and people are all submerged. Because I carelessly entrusted this matter to someone, I have already been punished by heaven with 100 lashes on my back, and my children will all be punished as well. Upon hearing this, Li Jiang was greatly shocked, and for a moment he felt ashamed and remorseful with nowhere to hide. The old lady said, "This is also due to the circumstances, and I dare not complain. I'm grateful for your trouble, esteemed guest, and I must still offer you something in return. However, pearls, jade, and gold are certainly not what a gentleman values, so I will give you something else." She then summoned 2 women in green robes, both extremely beautiful, one with a smiling face and the other with a slight expression of anger. The old lady said, "These are 1 civil maid and 1 military maid. You may choose one or even both." Li Jiang humbly declined, saying, "I have failed in my duty, causing you trouble. I am already ashamed and remorseful. I am more than grateful for your forgiveness. How could I dare to ask for your favor?" The old lady said, "Young master, please do not refuse. Take them quickly. It will be inconvenient when my children return in a short while." Li Jiang thought, if I take both maids, it seems greedy. If I only take the civil maid, it seems cowardly. He then pointed to the military maid and said to the old lady, "If you insist on this favor, I wish to have this one." The old lady immediately ordered a servant to return Li Jiang's horse and prepared another horse for the woman to ride on, and they traveled together. Li Jiang thanked the lady, went out, mounted his horse, and rode with the woman. After traveling only a few steps, he looked back and saw that the house had disappeared. After traveling several more miles, the woman said, "If you had married both of you, my lord, you would have possessed both literary and martial talents, and would have become a high-ranking official. Now, you've chosen martial prowess over literary ones. You'll only become a minor general in the future." She then took a book from her sleeve and handed it to Li Jiang, saying, "Master this, and you will be able to defeat the enemy and assist your lord in achieving success." Pointing ahead with her whip, she said, "It's not far now. We'll reach your residence soon. Take care on your journey, my lord. The old lady sent me along not truly to give you this book, but to pass it on to you. You will find a beautiful woman in the future. I am not a woman of this world and cannot serve you properly. Please take your leave." Li Jiang was about to persuade her to stay when the woman turned her horse around, and the horse leaped into the air and vanished in an instant. Li Jiang was greatly surprised and suspicious. He spurred his horse forward and saw that the place he had passed the day before was now a vast expanse of water, devoid of any human presence. He was filled with regret and lamentation. He returned to his lodgings and examined the books he had been given. They were all military treatises and instructions on the design and methods for constructing weapons and armor. Indeed, the dragon god commands rain, his power usurped, winning the mighty torrents of water. He willingly accepts the punishment of being whipped, taking military strategy as his reward. After obtaining this book, Li Jiang's mastery of military strategy became even more refined, needless to say. Meanwhile, in the areas flooded by the heavy rains, officials reported to their superiors, who then submitted a memorial to the court. The Sui emperor, after reading the memorial, issued an edict ordering the relevant departments to devise methods to control the floods and provide relief to the affected people. He thought, "I once dreamt of a flood, and now indeed many areas near the capital are suffering from floods. My dream has come true." This somewhat dispelled his doubts. In June of the first year of the Renshu era, the Sui emperor's third son, Prince Xiu of Shu, harbored resentment because Prince Guang of Jin was the crown prince. Fearing this threat, the crown prince secretly instructed Yang Su to find fault with Xiu and slander him. The Sui emperor believed the slander and summoned Xiu back to the capital, immediately ordering Yang Su to investigate. Yang Su falsely accused Xiu of cruelty and harm to the people, and by imperial decree, he was deposed and imprisoned in a separate palace. The fearless Duke of Tang, Li Yuan, submitted another memorial strongly advising against this, requesting that the deposed Crown Prince Yang and Prince Xiu of Shu be demoted to small fiefdoms instead of being immediately reduced to commoners. Although the Sui emperor refused to grant the request, he did not punish him. However, the crown prince grew increasingly wary of him, and thus consulted with Zhang Heng and Yuan Shu, asking them for a brilliant plan to eliminate this man, so that my eastern palace may be secure, and your wealth and status may be guaranteed. Yuan Shu said, if the crown prince had spoken earlier about wanting to eliminate Li Yuan, he could have been embedded among the two commoners, inevitably leading to the extermination of one of their clans. Now, His Majesty has long known of his loyalty and integrity, and it may be difficult to shake him in a short time. Zhang Heng said, that is not difficult at all. His Majesty is inherently suspicious and has dreamt of a flood inundating the capital, which has displeased him. The other day, His Majesty suspected that the name of Hong'er, the son of Li Hun, was a prophecy and ordered him to kill himself. Today, I will follow the example of Zhu Ting of northern Qi, who killed Hulu Guang, spreading rumors that Hun and Yuan both came from near water. How could they not be suspicious? I fear they will face ruin and death. The crown prince nodded in approval. Treachery is as treacherous as a venomous demon, secretly plotting against the winds. In chaotic times, loyalty is paramount, and one is unwittingly lurked in the seeds of disaster. Zhang Heng secretly spread rumors. At first, it was just idle talk in the villages, then it became the talk of the streets. Initially just children's nonsense, it gradually reached adults who all said, the Peach and Plum family will rule the world. They also said, the Yang family will perish, the Li family will rise. The origins of these rumors in the streets were unknown, and the constables could not suppress them, so they gradually reached the palace. The Prince of Jin deliberately petitioned, these rumors in the streets are ominous. I beg you to prohibit them. The Sui emperor was greatly displeased upon hearing this. Even Li Yuan was implicated and restless. But the Sui emperor already harbored suspicions, focusing only on Li Hun. At that time, the treacherous General Pei Renji stepped forward and said, the Duke of Chang Li Hun is a victim of a prophecy. Recently, because your Majesty ordered the death of his son, he harbors resentment and plots rebellion. An imperial edict was issued for investigation, and a group of people echoed his sentiments. Sadly, the Duke of Chang Li Hun was falsely accused of treason, and his entire family of 32 was executed in the marketplace. Sincere cultivation of virtue can pray to heaven. Believing in prophecies and tyrannical punishments are all in vain. The Jin dynasty used poisoned oxen and gold to defend against the Qin invaders. Who could understand the secret shifts in the landscape? Li Yuan, however, was somewhat relieved by this. Zhang Heng, however, used an even more ruthless scheme, bribing a sorcerer named Anjiachuo, whom the Sui emperor trusted, to claim that the Li family would become emperor and to persuade the Sui emperor to kill all those with the surname Li. Fortunately, the right vice minister of the Ministry of Personnel, Gao Jiang, reported. These rumors are sometimes unrelated, sometimes related, sometimes true, and sometimes false. Unrelated rumors include the saying, "Heaven will rain and the sheep dance." Related rumors include the saying, "The mulberry bow and the winnowing basket truly brought about the downfall of the Zhou dynasty." Some are true. Even with only 3 households left, Chu will surely destroy Qin. And later, Xiang Yu, the king of Chu, indeed destroyed Qin. Some are false. A high mountain collapses without being pushed, and the bright moon rises without being supported. And Zhu Ting fabricated a story to harm Hulu Guang, leading to the downfall of the state. Furthermore, Qin Shi Huang believed slander, saying the one who destroyed Qin was Hu. But it was actually Hu Hai. Emperor Xu of Jin changed his horse for a cow, but it was a minor official named Niu who had an affair with the concubine of the Prince of Langya, giving birth to Emperor Yuan. The ways of heaven are subtle and unpredictable. To reverse heaven's will, one must cultivate virtue, not use punishment, which would only cause the people's hearts to waver. If your majesty has doubts, then all those surnamed Li should be removed from court and from command of troops. At this time, Li Mi, the Prince of Pushan, held the position of Qianyu. The Sui emperor suspected him of rebellion and harbored doubts. However, Li Mi was on good terms with Yang Su, who wanted to protect him. Yang Su then praised Gao Jiang's words and secretly ordered Li Mi to resign from his post. At that time, many officials with the surname Li in the court requested to retire to their fields or resign from their military command. Li Yuan also took advantage of this situation to request to return to Taiyuan to recuperate. The imperial decree granted his request and appointed Gao Jiang as the prefect of Taiyuan, in charge of the western capital. Gao Jiang's memorial saved Li Yuan, but it was merely a case of a king escaping death. The fierce tiger escapes its cage. The hungry hawk is freed from its reins. Startled, I leave the imperial palace, hiding my tracks in the forests and hills. It was July of the first year of the Renshu era. Upon hearing of Li Yuan's dismissal, the crown prince said to Yuan Shu, "Zhang Mazi's plan is brilliant, but it unjustly harmed Li Hun and instead helped this fellow escape with his family." Yuan Shu replied, "If your highness can spare this fellow, fine, but if not, I have a plan to ensure the deaths of Li Yuan's entire family." The crown prince laughed. "I had this plan long ago, why bother with all this trouble?" Yuan Shu said, "This plan is feasible now." He then whispered a few words in the crown prince's ear. The crown prince clapped his hands and said, "A brilliant plan. After it's done, I'll give you all his possessions and wealth. However, he's also a capable general, not easy to eliminate." Yuan Shu said, "I will not fail in my mission with my plan. Even if I can't completely kill him, I'll at least give him a fright so he'll never consider serving as an official again." The two devised a plan to harm Li Yuan. What will become of him? We'll find out in the next chapter.